Maayong adlaw, Miss Sisa here, your new host for the Sugbu-tiful Town feature videos, coming at you to deliver this year's all-new season featuring Cebu's culturally rich towns. This episode, we are going to explore most of southern Cebu and take a look at the Baluartes and the man behind their successful operation in driving away our piratical neighbors.
Raiding, a custom practiced in the olden times to seize valuable goods and people for slaves. At sea, they are expert sailors riding the wind, and they were armed and hostile. They attacked neighbors and competitors to acquire what they did not and couldn't have in their own territories. Naturally, this meant violence, kidnapping people, burning, and the pillaging of communities. For southern Cebu in the 1700s, the most terrorizing raiders were the Moro from Mindanao. Expertly sailing in their pangko, they razed and burned settlements, acquiring slaves and goods. The pangko, so called by the Spaniards, was a dugout canoe with outriggers and sails. During attacks, the Moro would arrive in a fleet of differing pangko. One for swift sailing, the vinta is combat ready. The parao is used to carry more warriors and for rougher sea fighting, and the pilan to reach areas ashore where the vinta cannot. In the year 1782 in the southeast of Cebu, the community of Bulhoon was raided by these pirates. The residents were unable to effectively drive them away. In the following year, 1783, the priest Father Ambrosio Otero gathered the Bulhoanans to construct a new church in place of the charred remains. Almost 20 years later, construction was still unfinished. This was the setting Father Julian Bermejo arrived at in the year 1802. Characterized as a man of enormous willpower with great leadership and industriousness, he was one in a line of identified friar captains. Upon his arrival, he took over parish affairs and started by shifting focus into construction. Building a wall to cover the four sides of the church grounds, it was reinforced by taller portions called bulwarks. One of these was constructed into a watchtower. Today, it is now identified as Bulhoon's El Gran Baluarte. Strategically facing the sea, the El Gran Baluarte is a two-level structure that used to house cannons and guards in the top floor and the weapons and ammunitions room below. Bulhoon's church complex was completed in the year 1808 and served as shelter and refuge during pirate attacks and even when natural calamities hit. Cebu's coast has long been dotted with baluartes, or watchtowers. Even before the arrival of Father Bermejo, they had served as lookout points for incoming raid attacks. But, however prepared each baluarte was, individually, they were powerless against the brute force of the raging Moro. It was under the leadership and managerial efforts of Father Julian Bermejo, who was soon nicknamed El Padre Capitan, that each baluarte dotting Cebu's southern coasts acted as one. Whenever an attacking force was spotted entering the Cebuano seas, watchtowers visually and acoustically signaled each other. Flags would be raised and budyong shells would be blown to communicate. At which point, a fleet of barangayan, a Visayan outrigger canoe that can accommodate up to 50 fierce warriors, would row out and sail on to fight the attackers. Armed with cannons, it had built-in oars and sails. It was an organized and aggressive attack force that the priest captain inspired. Father Bermejo not only managed the watchtowers in the nearby islands, but he also trained Buluanons in the martial arts. Bermejo's leadership stretched from the watchtowers in Santander to the one in Carcar, each operating like the Bulhoon Baluarte. North of Cebu, there are also the watchtowers of Catmon and Bantayan. Soon, a system of an inter-island grid of overlooking watchtowers was created. The same was practiced in the other islands of Bohol, Negros, and Siquijor. Letters sent from Father Julian Bermejo to Governor General of the Philippines Don Pascual Enrile narrates detailed efforts of the friar captain to keep the Moro at bay. In those letters, he suggested building more bulwarks or watchtowers in the other towns and islands surrounding Cebu. By the 1830s, Father Bermejo's defense system of watchtowers was all over the Visayan Islands, including Mindoro, Panay, Romblon, Masbate, Negros, Cebu, Bohol, Siquijor, Samar, Leyte, Surigao, and even in northern Mindanao. This further curtailed passage of the Moro and their raiding ways. By the end of the 19th century, Moro raiding was considered diminished. In 1901, the walls in Bolhoon Church were broken down, and once again the sea was in full view from the church plaza. According to historian archaeologist Dr. Jose Eleazar R. Bersales, there are over 74 baluartes in Cebu Island alone. Locally, they are called Bantayan Sahari, or Bantay. Today, there remains 22 identifiable baluartes. Most prominent is the one in Bolhoon, the El Gran Baluarte, of Father Bermejo's time. This now serves as the belfry. Then there are those found at the parks of Alegria, Aloginsan, and Oslob, and those dotting Alcoy, Argao, Catmon, and Dalaguete. And one more inside the church grounds of Malabuyok. Some of these baluartes are easily found in public areas, like the parks and churches of the municipalities, and they have all become tourist attractions. Still, there are also those situated in private properties and are often in a state of ruins, no longer as imposing and intimidating as they once were in the time of fierce sea fighting between the Visayan and the Moro. They have outlasted their purpose. The grand baluartes of the past and the history carved by Father Julian Bermejo, the El Padre Capitan, are evidence of our predecessors' fighting spirit.
That's it, friends. Now you know about Father Julian Bermejo and his genius in maneuvering Cebu's defense system by constructing baluartes. So, the next time you go to a town with a baluarte, pose for one. And don't forget to tag us at the Kabilin Center Facebook account. So, click like and follow at the Kabilin Center. And remember, Sugbo becomes more beautiful when you know more about it with Sugbu-tiful Town Feature videos. Kita kits!